So to kick the channel off, I just want to firstly say a massive thanks to everybody who is tuning in and listening. So this channel I decided to put together just to share my experiences and my thoughts on the criminal justice system in the UK. So a little about me. I have experienced the criminal justice system firsthand. I was sent to prison for 6 months back in 2017 for two offences, one being a money laundering offence and the other being a more short-lived violent offence, um, of which got me put down for 6 months plus an extra 9 months on post-sentence supervision licence. Um, so, in a nutshell, that is my experience with the criminal justice system in the United Kingdom. Obviously, as people are aware, those with convictions are very limited in what they can actually do with their futures, with regards to employment, housing, and just generally getting on in life. And that is something I experienced, and I still do continue to experience the judgment of having a conviction. Aspects such as, like I said, trying to find work when you've come out of prison or if you've come to the end of a community order, for example. Things like visas, such as when I planned to go to America a couple of years ago, and realised I couldn't actually get into the country, which was quite a shock. Um, I thought, you wouldn't be allowed in for things like drugs and guns and that sort of thing, but not even the most minor sort of offences. The US, Canada, and even Australia, they take a dim view of what you've done, and it is made very, very tricky, if not impossible, to actually get into their country. Also, certain types of employment. I studied engineering at university. I've got a bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering, and I thought, great, I've got a tertiary qualification. I'm gonna do quite well in the future. Prison's been put behind me. I've kind of outweighed the negatives in my background by achieving some good positives such as higher education and just generally trying to get on. But there is some areas of employment that I just can't do, such as working in the nuclear or government contracted sector, of which you need security clearance. I can never obtain that. Um, Working in, I mean, it's not the sort of work I want to get into, but if you want to work in the likes of hospitals, um, even schools, even if you've got a common assault offence, there's getting jobs in educational establishments is quite difficult, again, if not impossible. Um, so already there is a big resistance against those who have convictions, and this is the sort of thing I would like to discuss on my channel because I don't think it should be that way. You know, people make mistakes, and if those people who continue to make mistakes and not reform their characters, yes, you shouldn't really be given decent opportunities because you're not ready and not deserving of them, in my opinion. But after spending 6 months in prison and 4 years, 5 years including college, um, just trying to self improve, educate yourself, and just become an average Joe, it it just doesn't seem to matter. However, fortunately, I have managed to get a job after university as an engineer. Um, my employer, although they did do background checks, they were very understanding, very forgiving, And as soon as I disclosed my offences, they were like, "Okay, fine," and nothing has been mentioned since. Um, but that doesn't stop the environment at work and colleagues still being judgmental because people do find out stuff. This is the sort of era that if you want to find out anything, it'll just be a quick Google, or you can ask around and you can find out whatever information that you want, you know. So within 2 minutes, pretty much the whole office knew about my conviction, my money laundering conviction mainly. Um, so yeah, so I do face that sort of judgment every day, even though people aren't coming up to my face and saying, "Oh, you're an ex-convict. I can't, how why have you been employed?" Blah 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 blah. Um, you do get the looks, you do get the, you do notice a slight difference in treatment between yourself and other more straight going guys. Um, it's just That's just the way it goes, and I've just learned to accept it. Um, yeah, also buying a house. Last year I bought my first house, and it was quite tricky because the broker I was going through, part of the application, well, the mortgage application that they distribute out to the different banks was, "Have you got a criminal conviction?" I said, "Why the hell does that? Why the hell would that matter? As long as you're able to make the monthly payments, which goes on affordability, I don't see what a criminal record has to do with it." Um, that's yeah, that's my view, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I just said no, no convictions. Did I lie? No, because my convictions are spent, so I don't really have to declare them unless I am specifically asked, and for good reason. Do I have any spent criminal convictions? And if they can justify why they're asking that, then I will have to declare it. But since they couldn't, I said no. But yeah, so every day I do face judgment, and I'm quite lightly convicted too. I'm very lightly convicted. I've got three convictions: money laundering, assault, and I can't remember the actual terminology for the third one, but it was like malicious communications or threats of violence or something like that. Um, so, in comparison to the rest of those who have convictions, I'm quite lightly convicted. Um, and I still go through the judgment and the resistance of people allowing me to move on in life. I go through that almost daily. Um, so this is the exact reason I wanted to create this channel, and just to spread awareness that people with convictions, well, exactly that, we're just people who've made mistakes. One analogy I'd like to share, and when I have actually been challenged on, "Well, you've been to prison, that's shocking, blah blah blah." Well, indeed it is. But I mean, how many people have, for example, gone out into the town centre of a Friday or Saturday night, and had a tear up, an innocent tear up, a little fight. You got busted up a little bit, and you both go your separate ways. Luckily, and you're fine. What you don't know is you've actually committed a crime. You've committed assault on one another. Whatever grade that assault is. If someone's got a busted nose, that's ABH. If someone's lost a tooth, ABH. If somebody's, got a fractured eye socket, that's GBH. Um, so the only difference between those who do that and me is I got caught. So I don't see why I'm judged for having a conviction, when the only difference between me and the average bloke who may go out on a Friday or Saturday night and have a tear up is I got caught. You know. Um, well, then that's that. You can't really deepen those people who have already shallow minds unless you start to really dig. Um, and that's just my view, really. We're not those were convictions, unless you got certain types of convictions, of which I won't like to mention, but you can imagine what I mean. Certain types of convictions, use them sort of people should just be put on an island somewhere and forgotten about. But for the likes of me and others like me, we're just normal people who've just done something daft. Um, but we're made to pay the price every single day. Also, there was when I was in Durham prison, there was an old guy, a prolific offender, always doing short stints here and there. 3 months here, 9 months there, And he always used to say to me, listen, your sentence starts when you get out. And that has never rang more true than it is just so accurate, because prison's easy, as long as you can defend yourself, and you're not into drugs, and you just want to keep your head down and just get on with it and go home. Prison's very easy. The punishment is when you get out, and you go in and you have all the opportunities the world could offer you. You come out and the opportunities, there's fences just go up in front of them, and you forever trying to navigate your way like over those fences, and it's just an uphill battle, and every now and then someone's going to pour fairy liquid on that hill and you're going to slide straight back down the bottom. But on reflection, I think I've done okay. And I just like to share that with people, because I've experienced the criminal justice system in the same way many people have. And it's actually, even though you got the brakes against you, it's very easy to navigate and weave your way in and around those that are just against you, you know. Such as I applied for jobs after leaving uni, and I started to realise, right, I just cannot do this, this nuclear job or this aerospace position. I just can't do it. So I just started to narrow down my searches to jobs that I know my criminal record would not stop me. And I've done okay. And buying a house too. Um, I just had to find lender like banks, and there's a good couple high street banks that don't actually ask, about criminal convictions, which I think's the right thing, because what does it matter, when you're buying a house? Um, and yeah, so this is just a few of my, my views, and yeah, I'd just like to any of you who have convictions, who've been to jail, um, and I just find it a bit difficult to move on and just do well for yourselves. There's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping you. There's plenty that is going to slow you down, of course, but there's nothing that's going to permanently stop you. You know, you can whatever you want to do, you can do it in some way, and in some manner you can do it. And there'll be many videos that I'm going to be uploading that's going to discuss all the different aspects of life after receiving a conviction, whether that be employment, uh, buying or even renting property, visas, working abroad, living abroad, personal growth, all this sort of stuff that we are gonna be discussing on my channel. And also I'm gonna weave in, a few bits and pieces on like what's kind of in the news today with regards to the criminal justice system. And I just hope that those who are interested in crime, punishment, rehabilitation, do get a lot out of this. Also, for those who are neurodivergent, i.e., you've got autism or attention deficit hyperactive disorders, that sort of thing. I myself am autistic, and so I found it a bit more difficult to navigate the criminal justice system and life after it. Slightly more difficult than those who are not neurodivergent. Um, so this channel will appeal to those who are autistic, who are neurodivergent. You don't have to have, convictions and things, but just like those who do, who have been through the criminal justice system, autistic people do find it hard to navigate through through life as well. Um, so I'm tailoring to quite a broad demographic here, and I just hope you all get something from it. So yeah, that's me for now. That was just my introductory video. I'll have some more in-depth, more detailed videos to be uploaded very, very soon, and please just tune into them. Hit the subscribe as well, and yeah, we can continue on this journey together. And yeah, peace and love, guys.